Time to play a little game, Chad Graff.
All right.
And everybody does rankings, right? Quarterback rankings. And so, 1 through 32, let's rank all the quarterbacks. But I thought about this and I thought, okay, let's do this. Let's rank quarterbacks up to Cousins. Because once you get past Kirk, Vikings fans want to know what you think of Kirk. And after that, it's, number 32, it's a real tight race. So didn't want to do that. So 1 through Cousins. Starting with 1, what is your current rankings of quarterbacks in this league? And of course, the exercise to me is intriguing here because the question becomes, where does Cousins fall?
Right.
I have for a long time, in fact, since the day the Vikings signed him, said that in my mind, he's not a top 10 quarterback. Doesn't make him a bad quarterback, and it doesn't mean that he is still not ranked fairly highly. I just don't think he's top 10. But let's start with you, Chad Graff. Give me your rankings of 1 through Cousins.
So I have 13 quarterbacks ahead of Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
I'll start off the top for you. For the 2019 season, better than Kirk Cousins, Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers.
We're in lockstep so far.
All right. Drew Brees.
Okay.
And then I think there's probably a bit of a drop down from there to get to the rest of the quarterbacks. Those 4, I think, are probably far and away better than everybody else.
Yeah, there's no, yes. I think that you're right. There's no debate on that list so far. Like, you could move them around a little bit, but There's no debate on that list.
Those are 100%
Agreed.
never in a million years that Kirk Cousins is better.
Agreed.
As we continue up to Cousins, 4 down,
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Luck,
Mm-hmm.
Ben Roethlisberger,
Mm-hmm.
Phillip Rivers,
Okay.
Matt Ryan.
Okay.
That takes us to 9 quarterbacks so far in our up to Cousins. And I think after those guys, there's probably a bit of a drop down into another tier of quarterbacks.
So tier 3, right?
Tier 3,
Tier 3
essentially.
is what you're going on to. Okay.
So 9 down as we continue up to Cousins.
Okay.
Cam Newton.
Ooh, okay.
Guy who has had an MVP season and had a very poor season. A guy who I think, similar to Kirk Cousins, needs pieces around him.
Yep.
I think is playing with a bit of a disadvantage having Norv Turner, which I think some former Vikings quarterbacks can attest to.
Yep. And a shoulder problem, too, coming off surgery on his shoulder, which is very scary if you're a quarterback.
So for 2019, I do have Cam Newton ahead of Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Continuing. So that's 10.
Kirk's already very upset, by the way. He's tweeting right now.
Continuing, I have a guy coming off of his rookie season, entering year 2, now with weapons around him, Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
Moving along.
Yep.
I have Jared Goff. And I'm not a huge Jared Goff fan.
Okay.
I don't think he's quite as good as a lot of people do.
And so Goff is where? What
12.
Number? Okay, he's at 12. Okay.
But has a lot of people attribute all of his success to having the best offensive coach that you can possibly have. And yes, he's better because of that. He's not always going to shred teams on his own the way that he shredded the Vikings in week 4 or 5. And then the last quarterback that I have in up to Cousins, better than Kirk Cousins, number 13, and a guy I think with a much higher ceiling than a lot of these others, Carson Wentz.
Okay.
When healthy, MVP caliber.
Mm-hmm.
When not healthy, not better than Nick Foles.
And has had real problems so far.
And has had a lot of problems staying healthy.
Okay.
But for 2019, everything else being equal,
yep.
I'll take Carson Wentz as my last quarterback, number 13, better than Kirk Cousins. And then I've got Cousins 14. And after that, you've kind of got a group of Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Sam Darnold, Jimmy Garoppolo, those types of players that for now, I will take Kirk Cousins over those, but not ahead of Cam Newton, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz.
So run through your list again through Cousins.
Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, Brees, Wilson, Luck, Roethlisberger, Rivers, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, lastly, Carson Wentz.
Okay. We agree. So our top 3 are the same. Mahomes 1, Brady 2, Rodgers 3.
Yep.
I flipped your 4 and 5.
Wilson and Brees.
And put Wilson ahead of Drew Brees, in part because Brees' play also dropped off a little bit in the second half of last season, and I can't figure out if he's getting old or not. But he's still very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Wilson, I absolutely love. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the top 5 to me.
But those are
no matter who you are, that's the top 5.
Okay. So Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, Wilson, Brees. Number 6 for me, and I love this guy, Andrew Luck.
Yep.
Huge Luck fan. Number 7, another guy, and this one I don't know because one of these years he's going to, much like Tom probably, fall off the cliff. Phillip Rivers. I have no idea when, but this can't keep going.
I thought the same thing last season.
But I thought the same thing of Brady. So I'm just going to leave them put until they prove me wrong.
Yep.
How long have we said, well, Brady, yeah, I mean, he's great, but eventually, and we all saw Favre here get old, and it eventually happened. So I have no idea, but I'm leaving Rivers 7th now because I am done trying to assume regression.
They get the benefit of the doubt along with Brees, I think is, even though he's getting older, until they have a season where it all goes to what, then they get the benefit of the doubt.
Number 8 on my list, Matt Ryan.
Ooh, all right. That's higher than I had him.
Yeah, and I still like him a lot. I have obviously I'm not as sold as I was during the Super Bowl season, but I still think that he is very good. But I think he is in my mind a top 10 QB. I think it's fair to say that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
8 might be too high.
Somewhere 8 to 10.
But he is a top 10. Right. If this is all done in tiers, and my thought process is that Cousins is not a top 10 QB tier wise, Matt Ryan to me is a top 10 QB. Number 9, we disagree on this one, and I love this kid though. I think he's going to be fantastic. Deshaun Watson.
Wow, Deshaun Watson in your top 10?
He is, but here's why. And there's some bias here.
Okay.
Right before he got hurt and tore the ACL in practice a couple of years ago, I think they were playing the Seahawks, if I'm not mistaken, and I watched that game. And this kid's ability to not only pass, and he struck me as a very smart quarterback, but pull the ball down athletically as well. Deshaun Watson is what, if you are a coach now, what you want. Now, I know shortly thereafter he tore his ACL in practice, and so that might have set him back, or it probably certainly did set him back. But the gifts that kid has, to me, make him a top 10 QB. But he's barely in there too. I'm not saying he is nowhere near that top 5. To me, the only guy that I gave you outside the top 5 that I would put near that top 5, and I did, is Luck.
Yep.
Luck could very easily by the time we're going into 2020, Chad Graff, he could very easily be 2 or 3.
Yes. And the one thing that I'll say about Deshaun Watson is he's one of the only quarterbacks that has played behind an offensive line worse than the Vikings. They have had all sorts of issues.
And he's gifted.
I still think for 2019, I would take Kirk Cousins over Deshaun Watson, but I at least see where you're coming from with that one.
Number 10, also a little bit controversial, but remember it's near the end of the top 10, and it gets a little bit more murky here, is Dak Prescott.
Wow.
Dak Prescott, who I think is going to get paid.
Oh, he'll get paid.
I am, just to be clear here, I am more sure of Deshaun Watson than Dak. I am more sure of putting Deshaun Watson in my top 10 than Dak. Dak could easily fall back here. Number 11, a guy that you brought up as well, and I can't figure him out yet. And I think 2019 is going to help us a lot here, is Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't figure out if he alone could be fantastic, if this is a product of the offense. The other thing, and this I am really excited to see, is what have opposing great defensive minds like Zim done in the past few months now since the season ended to slow down McVay/Goff, and what did Belichick teach them?
Exactly.
And is it a sustainable lesson?
There's a full game of tape now that shows how to beat Sean McVay and how to beat Jared Goff. And I think is one of maybe the most fascinating quarterback entering this season, just in terms of what the progression looks like, where they go from here, how difficult it is for teams that go to the Super Bowl, lose in the Super Bowl, to then bounce back and have a good season. And as it gets to the point where he's probably going to get paid, McVay came out and said, we're paying this guy. He's going to make big bucks. He's a guy that I just don't know. He gets so many easy throws because of Sean McVay's offense that I don't know if you gave him, if you put him on the Vikings in the same offense as Kirk Cousins, I think I lean a little bit toward Jared Goff, but it's at least a question. And it wouldn't shock me if Kirk Cousins outperformed him.
So Jared Goff, number 11 on my list. Number 12, Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
Which might be prematurely too high. The Cleveland excitement, I'm struggling with. Okay, first time head coach in Freddie Kitchens. Quarterback who certainly looked good, but again is going to have been studied very closely by 2019 opponents. Odell Beckham, who on his best days is going to be great and on his worst is going to be a complete pain in the ass. And can he gel as a teammate with Baker? So I've got Baker at 12, but will fully admit that might be premature and that he could go up easily, but I'm not going to be shocked if he falls back too. Yeah. I don't think he's going to, but I'm not going to be shocked. I agree with you on 13 as well. Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz,
another fascinating one.
When healthy, has shown far too much to not show him respect. But much like Dalvin Cook here, who I love, my question comes to a very simple: can you stay on the field? Can you play all the time? Because we can say, well, it's unfortunate he tore his knee up. Well, yeah, it's unfortunate, and it's not his fault. But guess what? If you can't stay healthy in this league, you become useless. So I put Carson Wentz 13. And then I put Kirk Cousins, which means I left out a name that you had.
Which was Cam Newton.
No, two names then. I'm sorry, two names. Ben Roethlisberger also. I have
Ben Roethlisberger.
I have Roethlisberger as next up after Cousins. 2 years ago, you could have called me the craziest old man in the history of the world. But thanks, Declan Goff. But Ben Roethlisberger, I don't know it. I don't know about age now. I don't know with Antonio Brown gone. There have been enough weird things there. So I leave off Roethlisberger and my first. So I would have put Ben 15, and then just outside my first name, Cam Newton. So I left off two names that you didn't.
Why does Phillip Rivers get the benefit of the doubt, but Ben Roethlisberger doesn't?
Because Ben Roethlisberger strikes me as a potential complete pain in the neck, and Rivers strikes me as a guy that people rally around. And Roethlisberger, I don't know. There's just something about how things have gone down there.
More than 5,000 passing yards last season.
Yeah, I know. It's a great point. It's a great point.
He did have 16 interceptions, so not great.
Well, and his top receiver is now gone. And so will Juju Smith-Schuster be as good without Brown there? I have no idea. But I got to admit, I am colored in how I think about this, largely because of the fact that there was a lot of just BS there last year.
To put it mildly,
yeah. Well,
yes.
And I also come back to not just with Ben Roethlisberger, Chad Graff, but Mike Tomlin.
Fair.
Mike Tomlin didn't get fired, which is a Steelers thing. But if you look at that, I can't tell you that he hasn't completely lost that team.
Yes, that's another team that's going to be fascinating. I do, though, think Ben Roethlisberger is a top 10 quarterback and a no doubt better than Kirk Cousins quarterback. And Cam Newton is the one that I'll concede to knowing less about. At his best.
Oh, then he is, yes.
Great.
But the shoulder problem
you don't
scares
often
me.
Get his best. And with the shoulder problem, all of a sudden it seemed like he couldn't throw it past 20 yards for a while.
Yep.
There are some major issues there. That one, I'll concede. I would put Deshaun Watson in. That, is a tough spot. I'll stick with what I had, but I can at least see why Cam Newton's behind. Completely disagree on Ben Roethlisberger. Top 10 quarterback for sure, better than Kirk Cousins.
Okay, so up to Cousins, he is 14 for you as well?
Number 14.
And 14 for me. So